Hi everyone, welcome to episode 170 of the Mighty Whites podcast, which I think I can't call it this because I think it'll be a problem with filters, but it's actually called Go Get Your Father's Gun. I'm Jack, as always, joined by KC. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. How are you?
You're fucking outstanding. After a result like that, you can't fail to be happy. I really did not see that coming.
No, given my optimistic prediction of a draw, and I was slightly worried when Brendan Aronson opened the scoring, and I thought I didn't put that £10 on.
No, I
really should have done.
I'd forgotten what you backed until I opened the document just before we did this, and I saw it was Aronson and 1-1.
So I was very relieved when Rodrigo headed in not long after. Once we'd weathered the storm of Chelsea, who battered us for most of the game, apparently.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? How it was something that I was going to mention later, but sorry, we'll get straight into it. Thomas Tuchel's quote of "We, being Chelsea, were clearly the better side."
So when?
Now they are the better side than us, but they weren't yesterday.
No. Yeah, I think he's been somewhat rattled by Jesse Marsch
and Conte
and his celebrations and his.
Yeah, I think there might be some residual from the Spurs game coming through as well.
I mean, I did like Jesse Marsch when he was asked about Thomas Tuchel. Basically, said, "No, he got sent off. He shouldn't be there."
Yeah,
like that's what happens.
It was one of them where the reporting around it was quite annoying. Because they kept saying, "Oh, he said he'll be very disappointed," but I mean, he did say it's not to do with Thomas Tuchel. He got sent off, so you're banned for a game. As far as I'm concerned, that's the rules. Should I not be assuming that? And it turns out, yes, Jesse, you shouldn't be assuming that because he was there, and it made fuck all difference. In fact, it probably made him worse. Good.
I mean, it's awful. He missed his plane. Had to take the bus.
Tiny violin.
Yeah. Oh, God, it was as if Jurgen Klopp was there.
Yeah, he was.
He'll blame the fixtures next. Oh, look at this. Played 3 games over 3 weekends. Oh, that's too much, isn't it? Players can't be doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what a fucking whinging arsehole he was after the game, to be honest. Because, like, I have no problem with when you say, "Look, we had chances early and we missed them." If you say, "And then we got punished for that," all right, yeah, fair enough. But to be like, "Oh, it was nothing to do with Leeds. Nothing to do with us." I mean, I'm sorry, fuck off.
No, which is very good to that. Like if you were watching Match of the Day too, and Alan Shearer's there going, "This was a fantastic game of football, and Leeds were outstanding."
Yeah,
good. I'm glad someone's acknowledged. I'm glad someone else is acknowledging how good we were.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the first note for when we get into the game. That was fucking outstanding. Like, I was so impressed by the way we played. And I'd like to say that for once, although obviously this is not the main thing, it's just something to take out of it because we don't very often have this. We were right. We were talking last time, should we switch to a back 5? Should we go match them up? Should we defend like we did last season? And we both said, no, we should go for it and press them. And that's how we're going to score goals in this game. Well, we were really right on this one. Like it doesn't happen very often. That's why I'm bringing it up. But we really did get it right. We'll be chronological about it so we can get.
Well, I mean, even before we get into the game, the news came out that obviously Bamford hadn't made it and Dan James was starting.
Well, the news of Bamford being out, which he released on the official Leeds podcast, despite Jesse Marsch saying, "Oh, he might be available."
And now all the players are banned from social. I know that was Simon Grayson. But yeah, so Dan James is the only change, and obviously Gelhardt back on the bench, but having had a knock, I wasn't surprised that he didn't start. But what did you think when you first saw Dan James?
I was fine with it, to be honest, because Rodrigo up at 9 worked again when he moved there against Southampton, so I was fine with him being there. And then it's when you're looking at the bench that we had that day, you can either play Click and push Aronson to the right, or play James or Sinistera. Sinistera probably isn't fully fit yet, so yeah, fair enough. And James was probably the least effective of his front four, but he didn't have a bad game by any means.
No, he was a bit of a. I mean, he was a bit of a nuisance. Not as much of a nuisance as Harrison and Aronson turned out to be, but again, it's I suppose the thing you know with Dan James at this point that you're going to get him putting a shoulder in a few challenges, and fortunately, nothing daft. This time.
Yeah, but as I say, I was pretty happy with the team. When I saw theirs, we did talk about Gallagher maybe getting the start, but we were wondering whether it'd be Loftus-Cheek or Gallagher. I didn't expect both, because even though we played well there against Spurs, I really didn't expect him to play Loftus-Cheek at right wing back again. And I think that helped us, because I think it had been a lot harder for us down that left side if they'd had Reece James there instead.
Yeah, and I think it showed how effective we were in the first half that they switched to a 4-3-3, didn't they? And
yeah,
moved Loftus-Cheek into the middle.
Yeah, to be honest, it was almost 4-2-2. It was like Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho, and the rest of them just went up front. It was.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, because the worry is anytime we come up against Colin Gallagher now is knowing the interest we had in him last year that he will have a fantastic game against us. Honestly, I thought he was very quiet, but I do think part of the thing under Tuchel is that it's not a case of, well, Kante's out, so we'll modify it a bit. It sort of felt a bit like someone has got to play Kante's role, but without the midfielders to actually do it.
Yeah, and speaking of playing N'Golo Kante's role, the one thing I saw on Twitter earlier of N'Golo Yankee to describe Tyler Adams. Yeah, he was that was one thing. Their central midfield wasn't great, but I do think a major part of that is that ours was.
Yeah, I mean the compilations. I think people have put. There's a couple of compilations going around now of Tyler Adams and his interceptions, and his defensive work was absolutely outstanding. He was fantastic.
It wasn't even one of them where it took until the second half to go, I'll tell you what, he's having a good game here. 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in, everyone in the stand was going, God, Adams is playing well today. Yeah, he was so up for it. The only bit that Chelsea could really say that they were properly on top was the first 15 minutes. First 15 minutes, and it wasn't even that like the whole team was really battering us. It was just we couldn't deal with Raheem Sterling for the first 15 minutes. Obviously, he was cutting inside from the left. He should probably have scored after about 30 seconds, but put it wide because, as we always say about him, he's not a natural finisher. And then he did score the second one, but I still haven't seen an actual good side on TV replay, but it looked a good couple of yards off in the stadium.
Yeah, it was fairly comfortably offside. There's something quite like we've spoken about it. I think everyone's spoken about it at this point. The linesman having to wait to put the flag up, and it's a very annoying rule when they have to wait for that period of play to end before they put the flag up. But God, it happened to Chelsea quite a few times in that game, and it got quite funny.
Yeah, well, in the end, I have to put it down to Leeds having the best defensive line I've seen us have. Honestly, maybe ever, in terms of holding your line. Because they aren't all rubbish at making runs. For them to get caught that often, like Reece James got caught twice in a few minutes, overlapping down the right-hand side in the second half. Obviously, a couple of them were just shots that hit Sterling middle of goal.
That was hilarious, by the way.
Those were very funny, but that wasn't really holding a good line. That was just funny.
Because there was a couple of times when, obviously, you saw them take the shot, and Melier pulled off quite a few good saves, and you're like, "That's a brilliant save, well done." Oh, it's a free kick for us. Even better.
Yeah, he had. I think he made, because he made 2 actual good saves that counted, but he made 2 or 3 other ones, didn't he? That never counted for anything. But it's still good to see him make them. Like when if I'm thinking about a goalkeeper performance now, I just include them.
Yeah.
Because it was before the whistle went. So the ball was in play, so it's a great save.
Yeah, that's fair.
They also, maybe about 25 minutes in, but at this point, Leeds had got it. Leeds were now in the game. Like, Rodrigo had that effort across goal, and Harrison had one pretty much straight at Mendy. Mount had the good effort going the other way, the left-footed one from the edge of the box where Meslier made a really good save. But at that point, we'd started to sort of we'd really started snapping into everything, and the pressing was starting to work. And something that we noticed in the ground, I don't know if it really came off on telly, but Chelsea started getting really snippy about everything, like really having words with the referee a lot. Like about a few minutes before the first goal, Reece James and Thiago Silva had what was like a long conversation with each other. That for conversation, read argument. Like they really weren't happy with each other, and they all seemed to be getting on each other's backs. And the main one that seemed to be struggling with it, and it was mentioned in the stand before the first goal, was the South Stand were really getting on Mendy's back. And he did not seem to like it at all. Like he kicked one out of play not long before and got a big cheer, and it just seemed to unsettle him a bit. You know, the crowd doesn't get the credit for the goal, but it genuinely was. You could tell it was bothering him before the obvious.
Yeah. Mendy.
I
mean, the thing you quite like to see is, and it's that thing that once you're aware of it, watching Match of the Day, you can't unknow it. But seeing the Koulibaly yellow card 10 minutes in, is obviously foreshadowing for the red card that is to come. And I know that ultimately didn't impact the game. The game was long gone by the time he's off. Yeah. But when you're looking at him as someone who is a quality centre back, he has 3 goes at just stopping Aronson. None of them with his feet. It is all, I'm going to grab your shoulder. Oh, he's gone. Got his shirt. Grab him by the neck.
It was one of them. It was one of them where they're never going to give it. But it was that one by itself was technically 2 yellow cards. And then, you're just never going to give it like that.
It's one of the times I've had quite a lot of respect for a referee, actually, is when Aronson goes across to the referee to complain about the challenge. The referee just looks at him, it's like, I know, I'm dealing with it.
Yeah, go away.
Like he's having a shout back at him, just go, mate, I've got this, yeah? Just give me 5 seconds.
You don't often get to say it, but it was quite a well-refereed game. I didn't really notice him.
No, there's always going to be 1 or 2 little decisions. I think there was one point there was definitely a corner that Chelsea should have had that got given as a goal kick when Conor Gallagher's just stood there going, really? No, we're not. Okay, fine. But yeah, good game from the referee. It's quite nice not to have to talk about a ref.
Yeah. Well, we've got that first half hour out of the way now, which is the preamble. And speaking of ambling, Edouard Mendy. Leeds lose the ball. Just breaks out. Conor Gallagher to Thiago Silva, but Leeds counter press well. Force a pass back to Mendy. Now, the thing that I didn't notice in real time, but I've noticed on TV, Reece James should be dropping in to get the pass sideways, and he stands fucking like a statue and doesn't move. But at that point, Mendy's just got to boot it. No. I'd love to say he fakes the clearance and tries a turn. But what he actually does is just lifts his leg up and puts it back down. Like, he doesn't actually do anything.
I don't think in that instance he knows where he's going. I don't think he's decided. And every time he quickly glances up, Brendan Aronson's advanced about 7 yards.
Yeah. Like that clip where you card your head round corner and then you come back and the dog is a lot closer. And it's
Yeah.
Brendan Aronson, because he's got that dog in him. Gets closer and closer. Mendy just delays it. Aronson nicks the ball off him, takes the extra touch, which, calmed the stadium down quite a lot because it was still sort of a slightly missable at first. Takes another touch, and then just to be a shithouse, no look finish from a quarter of a yard out. Because, that was needed.
I think once he's won the ball as well, I think his celebration, he actually moves quicker than he did with the ball.
Yeah.
It's sort of a couple of steps away from Mendy, lashes it in, because, again, why not? And then off he goes for the corner.
Yeah.
I did see 1xG model had that at 0.99.
I believe they all did, because you can't have one, because it is possible to miss.
I've seen Luke Varney play. I know it's possible to miss.
Yeah. So, yeah. Leeds go 1-0 up. Crowd goes fucking mental. And the one thing that I did want to bring up, actually, before I forget, that's not an isolated incident. Bamford robbed the ball off Jose Sarr against Wolves. So we've only had 3 games and we've managed to tackle a goalkeeper twice, which bodes well for the pressing.
I mean, the pressing yesterday was relentless. Like, you just saw there was just in their half, there was always someone else there. And it just worked to perfection. It just absolutely rattled them. And it's like, I think it's been mentioned before about, high pressing teams, is that sometimes if you can't create an opening, it's almost in your interest to give them back the ball to then win it higher up the pitch. And I'm not saying we did give them back the ball, but you look at again where the Aronson goal comes from is that we lost possession.
Yeah,
and we just press them so well, especially, and we do it so well in the wide areas. I think we said before, typically the centre back's sort of allowed to carry it sort of 5-10 yards, and then as soon as it goes to the full back, the press starts. Then you get Aronson or Harrison and Rodrigo, or just sort of closing in. It's absolutely fantastic to watch.
Yeah, the noticeable one this time was we were allowing the pass to James, or especially Koulibaly, just allowing him to have the pass to the wide centre back, and that's when they went just straight in, full commitment to the press. And like I was talking on the preview podcast about that stat with us getting dribbled past more than anyone else, and it is because of the way we play. But it worried me with Chelsea's players. We seem to barely miss a tackle. They got past us sometimes, but it was never cleanly stepping away and you're away with space to move into. We just didn't allow it in the same way. So it's definitely off the ball. It's as good as you'll see a team be, really. We were really excellent. But the thing that I think made the game, obviously we go 1-0 up, crowd's going mental, but listening in the ground and talking to people, everyone was like, God, they were all still nervous and just thinking about hanging on. So for us to get the second goal so quickly, I mean, it's a ball inside, Rocker gets in ahead of Sterling. Apparently, from what I've seen, the TV pictures don't really show it because it shows it a bit too late. But I was looking at it, Sterling gets a right hold of Rocker's shirt and just pulls him back. Rocker just slides a long way forward.
Yeah, the camera doesn't. The camera angles I've seen seem to start, or the replay seem to start after he's let go, almost. So you just sort of see him slide. So from those, it sort of looked more like he clipped his ankle and not done a lot.
But no, he did have a right hold of him. It was obviously, I mean, he stand up. We had a good view of it. He just pulled him straight back. But over it, thank you to Mark Jackson, because we are now a good set piece team, apparently. Jack Harrison, really good free kick. Rodrigo, that near post run that he makes all the time, like almost every set piece. The only ones he doesn't is when he stands at the back post and someone else does it.
And he gets up like Mark Viduka.
It's a fantastic header. It's such a good header.
it's a very good header, very good run. I think when I watched it back, I think Reece James will be very disappointed that he's allowed him to get that space because it doesn't track him at all.
Yeah.
Because
it was kind of a weird run because he didn't try and get, often on runs like that, you'll see him try and get ahead of the defender. But Rodrigo was just trying to get across him. Like, he wasn't actually worried about distance from goal. He was just making sure I am closer to Jack Harrison than Reece James is. And from there, he backed himself to win it. And it's such a good header. Like, it's never going anywhere else.
I mean, if you look at the starting point, the free kick is, 20 yards out? It's pretty much level with the corner of the penalty area. So the starting position for the runs is 15, 16 yards from goal. It's not that far. So to let Rodrigo get that much of a run where when he jumps, there's no one near him. Like
he's basically a free header.
Yeah, he's unchallenged. So if you're Chelsea, I think you'd be very disappointed by the defending there. But like you say, it's a fantastic header. He just gets that glancing header into the far corner, and he does his big high knees celebration.
Yeah, high knees, arms out that way, like sort of a in my veins sort of thing. a bit like Dan James did when he scored against Burnley last season. But that was the moment in the stadium. That noise, it was. When Becchio scored against Millwall in the playoff semi.
Well, and
Lee Boyevin Milan. It was literally, it was up there. It was an unbelievable noise when Rodrigo scored because I think that was everyone believes that we're going to win this game. Everyone believes this team can play well. Everyone believes in Jesse Marsch. It just suddenly, I think, in the minds of all the fans in the stadium, it clicked and we were like, "Oh shit, this really could be something."
I mean, because I said my favorite reference, and you mentioned Becchio there is Becchio scoring the goal against Chelsea in the League Cup game, and it's 1-0 up at half time.
Yeah.
And they're going, I know this is a League Cup tie, but oh my God, this might actually happen. And then we lose 5-1. So I think they scored within about the first 90 seconds of the restart. So you're like, oh, okay, here it comes.
Didn't Jamie Ashdown drop a bollock for the equaliser, and we never recovered?
Yeah. But yeah, it's that thing of just, it's only 2-0. Let's not get carried away. There's every chance Diego Llorente is going to sprint out 30 yards, get caught in possession, and it's all going to go downhill from here. Let's all keep calm.
There was a little bit of that. But, for instance, the rest of the first half after the goal, Chelsea then went back to having more of the ball, and they had a few attacks. But they didn't have any shots on target. They weren't... Cucurella had that chance, but they never really looked like they were going to score for the rest at half. We got to half-time. After the Southampton match, you did have a worry about, can we keep it up? And we didn't just keep it up. We were just as good in the second half. Meslier had to make that one really good save from the Reece James shot from distance. But I think that was the only real save he had to make that wasn't offside.
Yeah.
We're right through. Forshaw came on for Rocker on the hour mark. Again, Rocker doing an hour, but it was a good hour. And we just... For some reason, as the second half went on, you were just watching it going, this is really working. It wasn't as transformative as Bielsa's first game against Stoke, where everyone was actual jaws on the floor, can't believe what you're watching. But this is not an original thought. Everyone has said it. This game was sort of Jesse Marsch stepping out from under Bielsa's shadow and being like, no, this is my team. We play my way and it's going to work. And now, even people like me who weren't mad keen on his style of football, I loved watching that yesterday. That was not like what we were seeing last season. This is a totally different thing to what we were watching him play last season. When he said, that isn't really the way I want to play, that was just me trying to get to the end of the season and keep us up. Well, I can believe him now because that yesterday was great to watch. It was exciting. It wasn't exciting in the same way as it is when you're getting the ball down and playing 25 pass moves, but it was still really exciting.
It's a funny thing, and it obviously the main caveat you have to say is we survived last season, so it was successful. Like that, change of manager was a success. There's just something where you're looking at and just going, this is the guy, and I'm not saying this is a criticism, that this is just how the season sort of finished, where Calvin Phillips didn't look like he worked in that team. Rafinha was at wing back for a few games. And you're just there going like, this is insanity to like, no, now he's got his team. These, the players he wants, and by the sounds of things, still tracking another striker if that's a possibility. But he's got his players in. They are now playing fully his tactics. Marsh ball, as is the parlance these days.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And then obviously you get the third goal, which started with Strauch sort of stepping up well, getting in there and playing the ball out to Harrison. Strauch, this game was perfect for him at left back because Strauch and Christensen did not belong at all. They just stayed back. They didn't do the normal thing, which is the bit of it that Strauch is less good at. Is the final third bit. Well, he didn't have to do that, so he was really good. But Leeds fan there. Yeah. But plays it to Harrison. Harrison inside to Rodrigo. Plays Dan James in behind. And there's two things that were so different between this season and last season on this goal. Rodrigo releases Dan James down the left. Thing number one. Dan James slows down, waits for support. Good final ball. Makes a good decision. Also, as that ball is played out, from that position, Harrison, Rodrigo, and Aronson all immediately sprint to the middle of the box. And by the time that goal goes in, all three of them are 6 yards out, middle of goal.
Yeah.
Instead of having that one player in the box to hit, there was 3. So when the cross goes into Aronson and Koulibaly just kind of knocks him off, but you've still got 2 more players in there. Rodrigo doesn't quite get it right, but falls to Harrison. Good reactions, finishes brilliantly. And, fucking dreamland. I could barely believe what I was seeing. 3-0.
That's another one as well. When I think if you watch our match of the day too, is when you track the run of Jack Harrison into the he's just flat out sprinting to get into the penalty area. The whole time, Mason Mount is dropping back, which quite why I think it says a lot about where Chelsea were at that point, that Mason Mount is in their penalty area at all in open play.
I'm trying to think when it happened. Is that after they've brought on Ziyech and Pulisic for Jorginho and Gallagher?
It could well be.
Mount will have had to have been the deeper centre mid at that point because they took off the 2 centre mids and brought on 2 number 10/wingers. So that'll have probably been why Mount was so deep by that point.
But you're just watching it as Mount is moving back, and his eye is on Dan James the whole time with the ball, and he gets caught just dropping deeper and deeper and watching the ball. And you can see that the whole time he has no concept of where Jack Harrison is. I don't even know if he's consciously tracking back to stop him or if he's just dropping in generally.
Yeah.
And then when that header comes back across, I think he finds out Jack Harrison is there about half a second before the ball's in the back of the net. I don't think he's aware of Jack Harrison absolutely just belting himself to get in that penalty area.
Yeah. And then, we nearly got a fourth. There was a good ball across and Rodrigo put it over, and in real time I thought it was a corner, goal kick. Saw it back on Match of the Day. It was a corner. And then the little cherry on top that was just funny. Leeds make subs late on. Gellert wins a ball. I'd say wins an aerial ball. He doesn't really. What he does is make the 2 Chelsea players miss the ball and crash into each other. plays a 1-2, Koulibaly just grabs him, pulls him down. Second yellow. Is there any point doing that when you're already 3-0 down with like 4 minutes left?
No, it was stupid. And again, it showed the frustration in them. The fact he's doing it when the ref is 5 yards away, so that he can't even plead any level of ignorance.
Yeah.
It was so daft, and it just I just surmised Chelsea's afternoon. I think at that point was just the total frustration of everything because outside of Thomas Tuchel's opinion, they had just been dominated that game. From 15 minutes onwards. Second half, I think there might have been a couple of periods when they retained possession, but again, like you say, they weren't forcing Meslier into many saves that it didn't turn out were from offside positions. It was quite a nice little cherry on the cake for us, I think, to round off that game.
Yeah, it definitely was. As I say, they really didn't hurt us very much. I think the best way to do it with this is the same thing that we did for the Cagliari friendly, because it's sort of worth mentioning everyone. So obviously Meslier was in goal. We've said already. He doesn't get the like highlights and the headlines for this one, but I thought he had a really good game. Maybe there was a couple of short passes out from the back where he played it to the long guy and it meant that we couldn't play his way out. But that's a real nitpick. Like, he had an excellent game.
Yeah, I think there was that effort in the first half. I think you said from Mason Mount where he hits it low, and I think Meslier is set to dive to his right, and then Mason Mount hits it low to the near corner, and it's along the ground. He does so well to get down to it and tip it wide for a corner. I thought that was a fantastic save.
Yeah, that one was a really good save, and it was one of them that in the ground, again, because his weight was going the other way, you thought it was in. And it wasn't. And obviously the tip wide from Reece James was really good too. One of the more interesting ones, because his first 2 games weren't very good, Rasmus Christensen. He still wasn't great, but he was better.
Yeah, it was probably the steady performance that you wanted to see from him at this point, and even better that it came in this game, which could have potentially caused him problems because, again, if you got Cucurella getting onto the ball more and attacking down that side with Sterling, it could have caused him some problems. And as has happened in every game so far this season, there have been times when he was caught out a little bit further upfield. But I think there was that one point when Jack Harrison ends up getting back to hold up play and then make the block as well.
Yeah.
But that at this point, I'm not putting that on Christensen or Strike when it happens. It's just, I think it is just going to happen with how we play. That's going to happen at times.
Yeah, I mean, he got done a couple of times by Raheem Sterling, but that's going to happen. Like, I ain't particularly worried about that. Like centre back Robin Koch, who I thought had an excellent game.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
He only got done once in the entire game, and it was on Sterling's disallowed goal. Sterling chopped back on him, and he got nowhere near him. He did completely do him. But
this is evil doppelganger Robin Koch, though, with his Mirror Universe goatee that he's got going on.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think he put a foot wrong. He won the ball when he needed to, got in the way of things. Passing was good. And I think you can pretty much say the exact same for Diego Llorente.
Yeah. And again, like, as the fact he is deemed good enough to been able to get into the Spanish squad at times. I know he's not a regular, but it's a certain level. But we do watch him with this, almost like this countdown in your head going, it's coming. Something is going to happen. It might be genius. It might be terrifying.
Quiet, everyone. He's about to do something stupid.
Like, it's just there, but no, just steady away. Again, like everyone else, occasionally had to move a man across or something like that, but nothing nothing particularly worrying.
Yeah. For the next one, we have a question from a friend of the show, Jason Middleton. Is Strauch playing himself ahead of Firpo as first choice left back when he's fit? Strauch's next, and yeah, I think he probably is.
I mean, everyone still has their concerns about Firpo anyway. So it does make you feel better about the left back option, thinking if Strauch can keep playing like this, I'll be fine with it. Like, I know it's a less attacking option than Firpo, but he's looking very comfortable doing it.
Yeah, Strauch in this game, as I say, because the only thing that I think ever lets him down playing left back is the final third, and he didn't have to do any of that. Thought he was excellent, defensively good, strong. There was a couple of bits of play out on the wing where he showed really good feet to get away and pick a pass. A thing that I didn't realise watching live, but I saw on Twitter this morning, 100% pass accuracy.
Ooh.
Which you don't often see, especially in a Premier League game where everyone's tear-assing about. So yeah, excellent performance. Centre mid will do the less headliney one for Mark Locker, who was replaced by Forshaw for the last half hour.
Steady away. I don't think he was, like you say, he wasn't making the headlines of the two central midfielders, but did well tracking his men, made the challenges when he had to.
Won the free kick for the goal with one of his, probably what was his only real break forward.
Yeah. It was a very, very good performance.
Yeah, and when Forshaw came on, just steady, just was good in the middle, didn't do what major. And then alongside him, a lot of people's, including my man of the match, Tyler Adams. I thought he was just outstanding in everything he did. He seemed to be everywhere, just run. It wasn't just running for running's sake, though. He was intelligent about it. He wasn't sprinting up to someone and they play a 1-2 round him and then he's 20 yards out of position. He just kept being in the right spot to pick the ball up and then play a pass. A couple of loose passes, but that was about it. And it was a game that made me think of him as a higher level player than I previously was. If he's got that in him, he could prove to be an even better signing than we thought he were going to be.
Yeah, his mobility is absolutely fantastic, and again, the comparisons will go to Calvin Phillips because they both sort of played defensive roles, but I think he showed that he's so mobile, and I think the amount of, like I said, the amount of interceptions he was looking to make, or his positioning was fantastic. Like he just read everything so well. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, you could tell the sort of game he had because that old joke went around Twitter. 70% of the earth is covered by water. The other 30% is covered by Tyler Adams.
Yeah.
Out on the right-hand side, we've already sort of talked about Daniel James a bit, but I thought Daniel James had like a good 7 to 7.5 out of 10 game.
Yeah, and again, at this point, you know what you're going to get from him. He works very hard. He can find a good position. In his part in the third goal was really nice to see him making a good decision with the ball, playing with his head up, still playing positively, but not rushing into anything. Good delivery. Very happy.
The other American, and the person who I have, from looking at Twitter, realised that every female Leeds fan between the ages of 15 and 35 is head over heels in love with, Brendan Aronson.
Oh, swoon.
Brendan Aronson, I love Brendan Aronson. What I've seen of him, I love the way he plays. He's in the words of JBL, he's fun to watch because he, on and off the ball, the things he does on the ball, the turn to do Koulibaly for that first booking was an excellent turn. He's really good at beating a man. He's got loads of pace. He seems to be getting in the right positions to score goals, and then off the ball, he's also really good. But God, you think I like him? You should see my dad. Because my dad loves a trier. He always has. and with him, he's good and a trier. I'm just waiting. If my dad was the sort of person to get a name on a shirt, that's who'd be going on.
Yeah. I mean, some of the little bits I quite like as well. That I think even when, probably more in the first half, when he's forcing Koulibaly or Cucurella to try and play the ball long up the line, or when they're looking to play it off him for a throw in, and he's just moving out of the way at the right time to just give us a throw, win us a throw in, and just forcing them to do little things like that. I mean, God, it showed at the end of the game. What was it? We'd run 11 kilometers more than Chelsea did, I think, by full time.
Which you really can argue is an extra player.
Yeah,
basically.
It was, and he is one of those that he presses so well, and he should, by rights, he should not have got that goal. Because
as good as the pressing is, it's a mistake.
Because Mendy should have looked and seen, right, Reece James isn't there, we send it long, or I send it out wide anyway. But the fact that he started that run from outside the penalty area and closes him down like that.
Well, I don't even at the time he sets off to press, I don't think he's the closest player to Mendy.
It's probably Rodrigo.
Yeah.
And Rodrigo's like, "No, I'm good here. I'm with Thiago Silva. This is a good starting position." And then you're just watching Aronson go. Like, oh, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah. A player who was on another day was put in a performance good enough to get man at match, just not this day, because there was so many. Your favourite, Jack Harrison.
What a player!
When is the next international break?
I was thinking about this the other day. Because I'm assuming now, is it just friendlies, or have we still got Euro qualifiers? I can't even remember.
The Nations League.
Oh Christ!
23rd of September against Italy.
Get him in the squad.
A month.
If he keeps this up,
if he plays like he is the last couple of games, not even all of the games between now and then, but most of them, he'll be in the England squad and he'll deserve it because he's been absolutely brilliant. And I said right when we got Jesse Marsch and it was the narrow system, I said the winger that will most struggle to adapt to playing inside is Jack Harrison. And I could not have been any more wrong. It turns out he loves it. Because the thing with him is, and I don't know how this is true, he's playing narrower, and yet somehow that has made him better at beating a fullback and putting a cross in. Like, he did it like 4 times, just skip by on the outside and put a cross in.
There was that little bit of magic where he ends up on his hip and he still beats 2 Chelsea players at one point. Fantastic bit of skill. And he, like you say, just his boundless energy, like him and Aronson. There's that little, I think they've made a gif out of it now. Find someone find a set piece taking partner who looks at you like this, and it's Harrison and Aronson in the interview afterwards.
Yeah.
For 2 players who play on the opposite side, they're a wonderful partnership. Like,
yeah,
they very, like, I think Aronson probably presses a bit more, but they very much mirror each other in how they play.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the thing was, you had, like, before, when you had Harrison and Rafinha, who obviously you had Harrison, who was a very hard-working winger, could get past a man, could put a cross in, and then you had Rafinha, who was an enigma of a winger who just at any moment could do whatever he felt like, but you were never sure what he was going to do.
No.
And now
you know exactly what these are going to do.
Yeah. Whether you can stop it or not is an entirely different thing, but God, they're so good. I'm so happy he's staying.
Yeah.
Unless Newcastle run up a truck with about 60 million in, because I think he's added to his value at this point. But
yeah, we'll come on to that in a sec. And then finally, because Sinistera came on with 20 minutes left, click, Greenwood, Gellert came on late. There's, Sinistera, a couple of nice passes, couple of moments where he got caught in possession. Hopefully he starts against Barnsley. And then finally, up top, 4 goals in 3 games in the league. He is actually to the extent that I think Bamford isn't getting back in if he's fit right now. Rodrigo.
He looks like a totally different player, doesn't he?
It's his was that his best game in a Leeds shirt? It was definitely his best game as a number 9. That's not even a debate. Was it his best game full stop in a Leeds shirt?
I think so. I was listening before the game on Radio Leeds, and they're talking, and I know Marsch mentioned it last season, bringing him into the leadership council, as it's been dubbed.
I think his leadership council sounds a bit Lord of the
Rings.
I
think he's in council now, because I think the word group is a bit overplayed at this point. So, which is interesting to think, because previously it would have been Phillips, Ayling, Dallas, Cooper, probably Forshaw in there as well. Yeah. And when you think that you've got a 31, 32-year-old Spanish international who wasn't considered part of that group, and I am guessing it's because of how Bielsa read his personality and thought he's not a leader in that sense of the word, but it does seem like the whole time he's needed a manager who's going to put their arm around him and give him that confidence.
He's a positive reinforcement type of player.
Yeah. And I suppose that's probably not what you get from Bielsa in terms, like, I think Bielsa will go down as one of the best ever coaches. And I know you do get the players who speak very highly of him, but I don't know if you're getting that level of motivation from him in that regard that you get it from Jesse Marsch. And as much as I think people have made fun of some of the motivational stuff that's come out about him, it's clearly working with Rodrigo.
Yeah. And what I will say is some of it, with Marsch, it is a bit cliche, but it comes off in a charming way rather than an annoying way. Now, I guess if he's talking like that and it's going badly, suddenly he comes off as Liverpool Brendan Rodgers. So it depends. A lot of that sort of thing depends on how it's going. But
he's nearly Nigel Adkins.
Yeah, the biggest room in his house is the room for improvement. Yes, obviously I didn't know this being at the game. Sky commentary praising Rodrigo's pressing. I felt like I was in a parallel universe. Well, I mean, that is one thing. Like, he doesn't press. Obviously, in our front four, he was the worst presser, but he still pressed pretty well, and he was always in the right areas.
It's so funny because listening to 5 Live probably about an hour or so before kickoff, and Pat Nevin's talking about him, and they're talking about the quality of player there, and you're just thinking, like, going into that Cagliari game, we were more than happy. A large chunk of Leeds fans were more than happy if someone would have put a bid in for Rodrigo to go.
Yeah.
Like, and to be honest,
both of us, neither one of us had him in us when we were like talking. What do you reckon 11 will be on the opening day? Before that Cagliari game, neither one of us had him in the starting 11.
And now, he is. What is he? He's the 4th player in our history to score in the opening 3 games of the season.
And what is it? 2 people from a long, long, long time ago, and Michael Bridges, was it?
It's Pat Bamford for 2 years.
Oh, was it Bamford?
Mick Jones and I'm going to be
someone in the 40s or something.
Someone in the 30s.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I remember now. It's because Michael Bridges got assists in the first 3. That's what I was thinking of, and Harrison's done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was it. I knew that I had one in my head, but it was Bridges. I'm assuming that I've read both.
Michael Bridges.
I'm assuming they were both on Dalton's Twitter, so credit to @LUFC stats.
I mean, Michael Bridges technically had 3 in his first two games, and 3 in just his second game.
Yeah.
So,
and also, just in case it wasn't Dalton, I'll say and @LUFC data, because if it wasn't him, it'll have been on Chris Taylor's.
Yeah.
So,
but no, like Rodrigo he just looks so happy now. Like before like at the end of last season, you could tell he enjoyed himself when he scored. But I think at times when he was on the ball, his decision making wasn't, and you can look back now and think he looks a bit nervy with it. Now he just looks a different player.
Yeah, so much confidence. Just a brilliant performance, a brilliant win, a fully deserved win. Coming out of the game, I did think I had the one pessimistic Leeds thought was we should have fucking 9 points, because that is how a football brain works. That is what happens. It's greedy and wrong, but we should really. And the other thing was, I believe Meslier and Harrison both have 2 years left on the contracts, and that needs fixing, preferably before the window even shuts. But I believe I saw someone saying on Twitter, I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but apparently on Phil Hayes' podcast this morning, he said the expectation is Jack Harrison signs a new contract just after the window shuts. Is the current expectation. I think that they are holding off in case Newcastle do offer like 55 million or something stupid. At which point,
I know for where we are financially, there is always an amount of money.
And there's always a number. It genuinely doesn't matter who you are. There's always a number.
But I feel like if we lost Jack Harrison now, having seen what he can do as part of this team, Sinisterra would have to do a lot of work to match that.
Yeah, I definitely do not in any way want him to go. And I'm thinking he probably will sign a new contract, because he certainly isn't playing like someone who's thinking about moving away, is he?
No.
He worried us with that interview in pre-season after a game. But I think that we're probably all right. But Meslier needs one immediately as well. Like 5-year deal with an option and everything. And if he wants too much money, give him slightly too much money.
Yeah.
Just lock him down. So there isn't really any actual news. I don't believe. Did we talk about the under-21s? I can't remember what day we did the podcast.
Last week. It was Thursday we did the podcast.
Oh, so we didn't. The 21s had a really good win away at Villa. 2-1. 2 really good goals from Sonny Perkins. Really good result, because they've got quite a strong team. Perkins was really good, and Darko JB was fantastic. They were the standouts. But we don't need to get into that. I just realised it was the one bit of news missing.
The thing I'm going to mention, I'm going to caveat this by saying I didn't watch it. The under-18s beat Liverpool 2-1, and for an under-18s game, they went a whole half without a goal. And I'm used to their games.
Our under-18s.
Yeah, and I'm used to their games being like 7-3.
There was a 10-3 last season, wasn't
it? It was mad. Yeah, I think there's the Sunderland game last season when in that run as well, where it was just going mad. So yeah, because I've got them favorited on live score. So even when you press mute this game, it still pops up. And I thought the mute this game button had actually worked for a change. Like, oh no, there's no updates. Oh, it's 0-0. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe the women won as well. So really, really, really good weekend. And hopefully we'll have a good midweek. Barnsley at home on Wednesday in the League Cup. I haven't looked at anything to do with Barnsley. I believe their manager is still Champman 0304 hero Michael Duff. I believe that he is manager. Yeah, he is manager of Barnsley. So that's the main link for me. Their side, I don't know who's in it anymore. I am a pampered Premier League fan, and I don't look that far down. The main thing for us to talk about is, what do you reckon our team will be?
It will be changed. It's probably the best way to. I think there will be a fair few changes. I was just looking through their team actually to see if there's none of the ex-Leeds players there anymore, is there?
Any sneakily really good players that are out?
No. Oh, Liam Kitchen's there.
Oh yeah, and I believe Clark Ado's still there, isn't he?
Saying that, he's not coming up on here anyway. Because I was thinking the same if trying to figure out if Alpha Halma was still there.
No, he's definitely, because this got mentioned
on the square ball. There's Clark Ado.
Yeah, this got mentioned on the square ball. I believe he's gone back to HJK Helsinki as Alpha Halma. But for what it's worth, Barnsley this weekend got beat 3-0 at home by Wickham, which isn't a great sign for them. Liam Kitchen played. They still have. I didn't realize they were still there. They still have Hungarian international Callum Styles.
Yes.
Who You would think a championship club is going to buy him before the window shuts because he shouldn't be playing in League One. And they have Devante Cole up front, who is a solid striker. That's about all that I can really say from looking. Oh, and they also have that James Norwood that scored a load of goals for Tranmere a few years ago. But yeah, first things first, do you reckon it'll be Meslier or Klassen?
Klassen was on the bench, wasn't he, at the weekend?
I didn't even check that, but I'm fairly sure it was.
I think he was. Yeah, give him a game.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to give Klassen a game. Although the one position that doesn't need rotating is goalkeeper.
I've just checked. He's not too tired yet.
Yeah, I've just checked. It definitely was Klassen. So yeah, I think I agree. I think it'll be Klassen in goal. Not that this would matter, but there isn't even an under-21 match close to it. It's not till the following Monday, so that shouldn't make any difference either. So I think Cody Drammer will probably play right back. Christensen.
I would quite like to see. I'd quite like to see is in terms of the changes we make. I think there's probably about 5 or 6 players I'd like to see, and then keep like Cock in the team.
In my one I've got noted down here, Cock's still in it, but that's basically the only one that's keeping a place.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose with the intensity, it's probably not that we play with. It's not the worst thing to give a few players a rest, but yeah, like Drama, I think would come in.
I'm hoping that Liam Cooper is fit enough to play an hour. I would really like it to be sort of Cock and Cooper at the back.
Yelder at left back.
Yelder at left back. They need to play Yelder at left back because if they're going to keep talking about him as being the option, because like Jesse Marsch said, oh, he's playing really well in the 21s, is Yelder, and from what I saw, he is. But he was also playing centre back. He wasn't playing left back because Keenan Carroll's playing left back. So, like, if you want to look at him as a left back option, he should play in this. I think probably Forshaw and Greenwood as the midfield too.
Yeah, that would make sense. I think
you could also do Forshaw and Gray or Forshaw and JB.
Nah, I think that would work. I mean, Greenwood is someone you could play in as one of the 10s.
Well, it was only brief, but he did come on as sort of the left winger, didn't he?
Yeah,
Chelsea.
Play there, could play as a second striker, play him wherever.
Yeah. So yeah, probably Forshaw and Greenwood. I think Dan James might stay in. I think he might be the one that stays in with Sinistera on the other side and probably Click at 10.
And Gelhardt up front.
And Gelhardt up top is what I think. And like Archie Gray and Darko JB, I'd like to see them both get on. I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of Matteo Joseph and Sonny Perkins get on as well. If James doesn't play, I would also quite like to see Somerville get a minimum of 45 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, I think that seems about right. Actually, I'm just trying to think if there's anyone else. But yeah, that'd be... I think the only position where... Like, I look at some of the other options in the 21s, like, I don't think... Like, outside of Yelder, I don't think Mullen's close enough to be coming in. I said maybe on the bench, but...
I think that we will have some senior players on the bench in case we need them. Like, I think Bamford will probably be on the bench, and I think he'll probably come on for the last 20 minutes. If everything goes to plan, just to get some minutes in his legs. We've just had another call of Jason Middleton that I want to draw attention to. Last night I was watching us beat Port Vale 4-1 in the EFL Cup in 2017. Cameron Borthwick Jackson, Vernon Anita, Hadi Sacco et al. How far we've come. Yeah, 1, how far we've come, but 2, why the hell were you watching that?
Where were you watching that?
Yeah, I mean, last night, why weren't you just watching the Chelsea game over and over and over again? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see a rotated side. It'd be nice to see, like Drama especially, he could do with a good game.
Oh God, sorry, I've just looked at this team. So here we go. Here's a team for you. In goal, Felix Wiedwald. A back four of Luke Ayling. Solid. A man who got a red card about 60 seconds into a game a couple of weeks ago, Connor Shaughnessy.
Oh, yeah, he still exists, doesn't he? I forgot about him.
This has him playing at centre-back, Cameron Borthwick-Jackson.
I'm fairly sure he did play left-back, I think.
Well, because Vernon Anita is also in this team.
Oh.
So, unless it was Dallas. But anyway.
Might have been Dallas.
Central midfielders, Click and Ronaldo Vieira. Dallas, a hat-trick for Samu Saiz.
Yeah.
Hadi Sacco, and a goal for Caleb Ekuban as well.
Yeah.
There was also the... Can you name...
sorry, as Jason, of course, watched this game last night, he said he just found it like Ayling played left centre-back, Anita was right-back, Borthwick-Jackson was left-back. And Dallas on the left wing. Thank you, Jason.
Here's one for you, Jack. Name the Port Vale central midfield partnership that formerly played for Leeds.
Well, that would have at that point been Michael Brown and Michael Tong.
You are halfway there. Michael Brown.
Was Michael Brown manager?
I think Michael Brown was manager because did they not accuse Didn't they accuse someone of spitting in this game? Was that not Samu Saiz?
I believe it was Samu Saiz, and nothing came of that one.
Yes. It was Michael Brown that was in charge.
Yeah, Michael Brown was manager. They had another one in central midfield. Was Danny Pugh there?
It was Danny Pugh, yes. The Brown Pugh axis of evil continued.
So Tong and Pugh with Brown as manager.
Ugh. On our bench was a bit of a mix with Chris Wood, Gianni Alioski.
I was going to say, 50-year-old ex-goalkeeper Chris Wood.
He might have been better than our goalkeeper. Pablo Hernandez, Calvin Phillips, Liam Bridcut, coming off the bench, Madja Gomez, and Bailey Peacock-Farrell.
Yeah. Jason said an old man with grey hair scored their goal, and I think that might have been Michael Tong.
It was Michael Tong.
Yeah, because I was at that game.
In
fact, I believe that Sarah came to that game. I believe it's one of only 2 games that Sarah's ever been to.
It's probably when she discovered her love of Luke Ayling. Yeah,
was that the second round or the first?
First round.
Then the other game she came to was the next one, I think. But yeah, so we've done an hour, so that will do us nicely. It was brilliant. So we are 3rd in the league, I believe.
Yep, stop the count.
Really, really good chance of getting into the postseason. In our soccer
Conference League, here we come.
Yeah, it's a great start. I made a big thing in pre-season about how we have quite kind fixtures early on, and I really want us to take advantage of that. Now, when I was saying that, I did not have 3 points against Chelsea penciled in. However, the next league game is Brighton away, and they're one of the best sides in the league, apparently, now. So it's another tough one. But if we can beat Chelsea, and press our way into causing a back three with wing backs into big problems, well, that's what Brighton play as well. So we will be back one of Thursday or Friday to talk about Barnsley game and preview Brighton. Brilliant result. We should all enjoy it while it's happening. So I've been Jack. See you.
I'm in Casey. Have a good one.